Hello and welcome to What the Hey, where I got a question, so I'm gonna answer it. When I go to my notebook of knowledge, I see the question of, what the hey are Oreos? Now this question comes from Sandra Brown, so hello to you and thank you very much for the question. I actually decided to bring in the topic because you know what's great? Visual examples. Now, in terms of a very basic description, Oreos are a widely admired treat that come in different colors and flavors. Most come in groupings of multiple sleeves, really just depending on the size and category of the Oreo. What a majority of this video is going to cover is the actual history of Oreo, but then I'll also talk about the ingredients and the forms they can come in. But what we can start off with is the origination of the Oreo, which was in 1912 by the company known as Nabisco. I think what Nabisco stands for is like National Biscuit Company, which kind of makes sense because they make a bunch of different cookies and biscuits. So essentially the start of Oreo was done by Nabisco as well as Mondelez International that started to make the cookies in Manhattan, New York. However, even at the start of Oreo's production, there was already a bit of controversy about it, which seems funny, but it was legit. And I've discussed this topic in a video in the past, but there was also a cookie called Hydrox that highly resembled Oreo because it was actually the first of its kind. And if you compare the two, really the main difference is just the name, which kind of goes along with the issue because a lot of people nowadays don't really recognize Hydrox despite the fact that it came before Oreo. And it does really seem kind of shifty because Oreos and Hydrox do look really similar, like even the packaging. But anyways, that was just an issue that Oreo ran into early on. Now this is just some side information, but you may be curious about where they actually got the name of Oreo. And for the most part, there's no actual legit conclusion, there's just a bunch of theories. But one of the main ones is that the word of Oreo goes along with the name of a plant. And apparently Nabisco has somewhat of a habit of naming some of their products after plants, so that's like one of the conclusions people think makes the most sense. Additionally, if you look at both sides of the Oreo cookies, people say that the cookies themselves kind of resemble wreaths, so that's why people come to the plant conclusion. But once again, no one's 100% sure. Very briefly, I would like to go over some of the name changes for Oreo, which started in 1912 and has gone through like 1974. And pretty much what all of these name changes had in common was the fact that they were kind of describing the cookie itself, because it started with Oreo biscuit and went on to Oreo, Oreo sandwich, Oreo cream sandwich, and then finally Oreo chocolate sandwich cookie. Which you can kind of see the most up-to-date one underneath the Oreo where it says chocolate sandwich cookies. So really, I don't know why we need to go through so many name changes just for a cookie, but hey, it works. Another historical point of interest, 1928 is when Oreo was starting to be sold to other countries. Apparently the country of China really likes Oreos, like it's one of their top tier favorite cookies. Another controversy that Oreo has faced that's semi-recent was the Oreo boycott, which you may be wondering, why would people boycott a cookie? And honestly, that's a very valid question. What it pretty much boiled down to was that in 2015 through 2016, the side company Mondelez International decided to get rid of and move some of the factories that they use for Oreo and move them down to Mexico. So some people were just upset that the primary production for Oreo wasn't being done in the States. Like, I think there are still some factories in the States that make Oreo, but literally on the packages it will tell you where it's made. So I guess that's just like a nationalism problem for some people. So now for this next part of the video, what I'm going to introduce is the ingredients that go into making Oreos. If you would like to try an Oreo but you know that you have certain food allergies, please keep in mind that some of these ingredients are specific to certain types of syrups and oil, so just keep that in mind and check. But for the most part, it's pretty regular stuff ranging from sugar, unbleached enriched flour, canola oil, cocoa, corn syrup, baking soda, cornstarch, salt, soy, vanillin, and chocolate. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that Oreos are gluten-free, so if that's something you have to pay attention to, this is a good option. Also, I do believe it has been stated that Oreos are not vegan, so if that's something you also pay attention to, you may not want to have these. But if you would like to go to the store and get some Oreos, I will tell you the forms that they can come in. There are quite a few options to choose from, like double stuff, big stuff, mega stuff, Oreo thins, the most stuff, as well as Oreo minis, so it really just depends on what you want. Additionally, there are other color and flavor options. One of the other general ones is like the golden Oreo. But you've got stuff like mint Oreos, chocolate Oreos, like double chocolate Oreos, dark chocolate Oreos, birthday cake. I think there's a watermelon one somewhere. I think there's Swedish fish. There's also, I think, a Lady Gaga Oreo. I don't know what that tastes like. So if you have a specific flavor that you would like to try in the form of an Oreo, it's probably out there. In terms of my general opinion, I think Oreos are pretty good. I don't think that they're my favorite kind of cookie that I can like continually eat. However, I do appreciate the options of how much stuffing can be in the cookie. Additionally, you can do quite a lot of things with the Oreos themselves. One of my favorite techniques is deep frying Oreos, which if you're not from the United States, that may sound like a future heart attack, and it probably is, but it tastes really good. I think the weirdest Oreos that I've tried personally, I think were the watermelon or the peep ones, and really anything that's dyed that way usually does not taste that good to me, so maybe that's someone else's favorite. But overall, I think they're pretty good, and I'll be interested to see what kinds they come out with in the future. So that's essentially the answer to the question, and if you happen to have any questions, feel free to let me know and I'll try to get to them as soon as I can, but that's about it. So thank you very much for watching. Bye!